How do I know when to quit something?
It's okay. You can quit things.
But hang on a minute. When I went to the gym this morning, there was a Michael Jordan quote.
If you quit once, it becomes a habit. Never quit. He's wrong. And it's very clear that he's wrong. And I've failed more times than most people are listening to this. And the simple secret for the power of quitting is the dip. And the dip describes something in the world that no one talks about. And so one of the things I try to do is help people understand it, because my whole career is about how can I help people do better? Find why they're stuck, realize what's holding them back, go solve the problem. Because problems are opportunity. And I believe all problems can be solved. But what we're wrestling now with is people are afraid, people are lonely, people are disconnected. They're victims of all sorts of media and commercial systems, and we've been indoctrinated to not notice it.
So I really want to just focus in on people who feel stuck right now.
So there's this philosophy which is the key to figuring out our stuckness. The donkey is trapped halfway between the water and the carrot. The donkey is thirsty and hungry, but he's unwilling to move away from either of the things he wants. So he starves to death and he dies of thirst. And all of us do this, and we do it with one simple word: but. I want to run the marathon, but I don't want to get tired. I want to have a job that fulfills me, but I also like this car and this house. And so I can give you tools that can help you overcome resistance. And also I can give you the mechanics to become the person your future self thanks you for.
And then the skill of overcoming shame or embarrassment might be one of the most important skills in the modern world today. How do I get better at dealing with that?
So let me try to make it really simple.
The floor is yours.
So
this is super interesting to me. My team give me this report to show me how many of you that watch this show subscribe. And some of you have told us, according to this, that you are unsubscribed from the channel randomly. So favor to ask all of you, please could you check right now if you've hit the subscribe button, if you are a regular viewer of the show and you like what we do here. We're approaching quite a significant landmark on this show in terms of a subscriber number. So if there was one simple free thing that you could do to help us, my team, everyone here, to keep this show free, to keep it improving year over year and week over week, it is just to hit that subscribe button and to double check if you've hit it. Only thing I'll ever ask of you. Do we have a deal? If you do it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make sure every single week, every single month, we fight harder and harder and harder and harder to bring you the guests and conversations that you want to hear. I've stayed true to that promise since the very beginning of the Diary of a CEO, and I will not let you down. Please help us. Really appreciate it. Let's get on with the show. Seth Godin. For my audience who've just clicked on this conversation, my question to you is, by the time this conversation is done, what do you hope that they're going to come away with? What questions in their life are they going to have answers to?
some of your best guests are world experts, and they show up and they say, I did the research, I did the math, do this because I told you to. And I've never done that. I show up and I try to paint a picture for people of what the words mean and what the systems are like, and then encourage you to do things because you told you to. And so what I think we're wrestling now with is people are afraid, people are lonely, people are disconnected. They're victims of all sorts of media and commercial systems, and we've been indoctrinated to not notice it. And there are problems all around us, and if we can solve problems, we can make things better. So what I want to help people do is find the words to talk about their problem, realize what's holding them back, go solve the problem. Because when we solve problems, we make things better for ourselves and for other people. So problems aren't something to be avoided. Problems are our opportunity. And I believe all problems can be solved. Some things aren't problems. They're situations, and you have to live with them. But if it's a problem, it means there's a solution. And I would like to help people find the vision and the words to see where they're stuck, why they're stuck, and whether it's a problem or a situation. If it's a problem and someone's going to benefit from you solving it, I hope I can give you the mechanics, the tools, the vocabulary to go move forward toward better.
And what kind of problems specifically do you try and solve for people in your work, but also in this more recent book that you've just written called The Knot?
So I don't solve problems for people, they solve problems for themselves. And when someone points out to you where the problem is, you can now make a new decision, right? So if someone's applying for college, it's super easy if you're 17 years old to get all hung up on, I'm about to be judged, how are they going to know the real me? What if I get rejected? Am I a loser? Have I wasted my whole life? But once you see the college industrial complex, once you understand the agenda of the admissions office, once you realize what people are looking at and why, You say, oh, this is a game. This is a game like Settlers of Catan or Monopoly. And if I win this game, it's not because I'm a good person, it's because I played the game better. If I lose the game, same thing. Once you see that, all the drama and entanglement of applying for college moves to the side. You say, what's in it for the admissions officer to see the person I want to present to them? Because if I can solve their problem, I'm going to go to the school I want to go to. Well, that's true in so many parts of our lives, is either we engage with a system or a person or a boss or a coworker or a spouse, and we think we're right. We've got all this noise in our head. We think everyone can hear the noise in our head. They can't. We think everyone wants what we want. They don't. And so we show up saying, it's my turn. I need to get this. And now we have a problem. And the reason we have a problem is because that other person thinks they're as right as we think we're right, and they have a different problem. So we're colliding. But if we can see that all of this is a dynamic within family systems, corporate systems, commercial systems, we can understand what are the forces at work. Now that we see them, we can use them to get to where we want to go.
You know, it's funny because I go out into the world and I sit in taxis and I walk down the street and people come up to me and I get sort of an idea of the personas of people watching. And because I get in a lot of taxis, I have a lot of conversations with taxi drivers. So they're one persona in my head. And then, you know, the other is maybe like a mother with a kid or two who's trying to make a change in their sort of later career. For those people, the average person listening right now, where is it that they want to go to? And I don't mean specifically, I don't mean job. I mean, where is it that they want to go to and where are they?
Right. I think most people we meet would like to be seen, missed if they are gone, understood, and of use. Right? That's something that crosses borders and cultures. And yet, we end up being a cog in a system. The Uber driver racing around, doing things they wouldn't ordinarily do because the system is pushing them to cut every corner. Or the mom who's struggling because the financial system that she's stuck in is pushing her away from the kind of work or parenting she wants to do. And many of those things are injustices, and some of those things cannot be fixed by an individual. We can accept those as situations. You're not going to change Uber. Uber is going to be the way Uber is going to be. And if you choose to be an Uber driver, the rules of Uber come with it. But other things are things where we get to make a choice. And I'm not saying, I want to be really clear, I'm not saying anyone deserves an injustice. Anyone deserves where they are right now. But given who you are, given where you are, what are the choices you do have? And how do we get out of the stuckness of wanting two things that we can't have at the same time? Because it's when we want two things at the same time that cannot coexist that we feel stuck. And that feeling of stuckness robs us from the chance to be of use. It robs us from the chance to get to that place that deep down we want to go. So I use the word purpose. And what I mean by that is not you're born with a purpose, because I don't think you were, but you can choose with intent the purpose of whatever you're going to do tomorrow. That purpose might be, I need to get paid. That purpose might be, I need to get this date. That purpose might be, I need to put something on the internet that changes the lives of 1,000 people. When you say your purpose out loud, the purpose of this work is so-and-so, then I say back to you the very first question, which is the key. Who? Who is this for? Is it for everyone? Or is it for 12 people or 1,000 people? What change are you here to make? And for who? And if we can't figure out who the who is, then we feel like there's just this amorphous, horrible, heavy blanket on us, trapping us. But if you can find the 5 people you can solve a problem for, or the 25 people who would miss you, it starts to work. So let me give you a quick story to help you understand the analogy. You're a stand-up comic, you've been working really hard, and your agent calls, I got a great gig. So you go and there's 100 people there, and you bomb. Not one laugh for 10 minutes, and you leave the stage. Then you find out it's a tour group from Italy, and no one in the room speaks English. So who bombed, right? It's your agent who put you in the wrong room. There was nothing wrong with your jokes. It was a mismatch because the audience didn't speak English. So you're allowed to say, it's not for you. When we show up to try to engage with someone it's not for, if we read the comments, if we read the reviews, and someone gives a great book a 1-star review, all that 1-star review says is, this book wasn't for me. That's all they needed to write. Nothing else in the review is helpful because someone else thought it was a 5-star book. So the author has learned nothing. So we pick who it's for. What is our intent? This person I'm going to help, I'm going to trade with, I'm going to engage, I'm going to sell to, or whatever. Who exactly? What do they believe? What do they want? What are they afraid of? If I can solve their problem, they're going to want to engage. And I can be of use. And then I can do it again. And then I can do it again.
Is this a point about getting unstuck in your current situation? Is it come right back to who you want to serve, their persona, what their needs are, and then focusing on that? Because I'm thinking again about this Uber driver who feels somewhat powerless in their life. They think, I've got to sell my time to make this much money,
Right.
but I'm not satisfied and I'm not fulfilled. So how does what you've just said sort of dovetail into that person's life?
So people sometimes call me a marketer, and I had the luxury of starting my career right when television was dying. So before that, marketing meant big companies buying ads, interrupting people, hustling them, etc. And then it shifted. So I got to define marketing as anything I wanted. And I've defined marketing as telling a true story to the right people in a way that helps them get where they want, that they will tell their friends about. If you do those steps, you're not doing any of the icky part. You're being of service. And you don't have to have a budget to do this. We are all marketing. When you walk in tatty jeans to a job interview at an investment bank, you've just marketed yourself by your clothing, right? There's a signal that you chose to send and that they will receive or not receive. So when we think about the agency, the freedom that each of us have, we have the freedom to decide who we're going to show up for and what's the story that's built in. So back to this Uber driver. If you want to make a living driving a car and meeting interesting people, one thing you could do is give up all of your freedom to Uber and let them find you the passengers. But the other thing you could do is realize that there are 75 people who live in this suburb of your town who need to get somewhere reliably and safely and would be delighted to have you be their driver. And when you hand out the right cards to the right people, making it clear what you do and don't do, and who you do it for and don't do it for, getting to 15 regular customers is not out of reach.
As a private chauffeur.
Yeah. That path is a better use of his tomorrow than simply being ground out by some social media company or ride-sharing service.
Bringing it back to this rope thing over here, because I really want to just focus in on people who feel stuck right now. The essence of where I'm trying to go to in this conversation is I want to speak to people that currently feel stuck, but they know that they're capable of more. They know that they could have another life, but they practically don't understand, I guess, both the psychology, the systems, the mechanisms, and I guess what they can control in order to move from where they are to where they want to be.
Right.
There's a rope here.
Yeah.
And it serves as a somewhat interesting analogy for, I guess, being stuck and pulling on the wrong thing.
Yeah. You sound like a magician. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, do you know the analogy? Because I don't
Yes,
know.
I do. So
Okay.
2,500 years ago, this guy named Alexander, he didn't have a last name yet, showed up outside of a small village in Turkey. And there was a legend from King Midas. There was a wagon there, and it was tied with a complicated knot. And the legend was whoever could untie this knot would become the ruler of huge parts of Europe. And Alexander was 21 years old, and he did not use a knife. He did not cut anything, but he looked at this knot that was tied to the wagon, and he did one thing that no one before him had ever done. He realized that there was a pole in the center of it that it was tied around, and he removed the pole, and then he could see by looking very carefully how the whole knot was held together, and he could untie it with no trouble whatsoever. And then he became Alexander the Great. Because the secret, the simple secret was we are stuck because we can't see what's holding us there. If what's holding us there we cannot change, like gravity is holding us to Earth, gravity's not a problem. Gravity's a situation. Going to the moon doesn't deny gravity. It works with the fact that it exists. But we are working with problems, but we're confused because we want two things. So can I show you what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's an actual carrot and here's actual water. This is not actually a donkey, but let's pretend this is a donkey, okay? In Burden's philosophy experiment from a couple hundred years ago, the donkey is hungry and thirsty. He has complete freedom, he can move, and he's halfway between a pile of carrots and a bucket of water. And he's trapped because every time he moves toward the water, he's moving away from the carrot. Can't do that because he's hungry. And every time he moves toward the carrot, he's moving away from the water. Can't do that because he's thirsty. And so in the experiment, because we're trapped, we end up dying of hunger and thirst. And all of us do this, and we do it with one simple word, which is but. I want this, but I also want that, right? I want to have a creative life, but I never want to get rejected. I want to run the marathon, but I don't want to get tired. And we hide the but. We don't say the but out loud. So my favorite story, which I talk about in the book, is Jackson Pollock. So Jackson Pollock was the most famous painter in America in the 1940s, about 80 years ago. He was on the cover of Life magazine. He had 3 years where he could do no wrong. His paintings were snapped up. Everyone saw him as a little bit of a hero. It's very unusual for an artist to be a hero in their own lifetime. And his wife, Lee Krasner, later said that he felt like he had done everything he could do with this cycle of art. And what most people in that situation would have done is become a Jackson Pollock cover band, paint more versions of his old paintings, take the money, you won. He wanted to be a brilliant creator. He wanted to be on the frontier. So he stopped painting Jackson Pollock paintings. He went to a studio and came up with a whole new style. Different size canvas, different approach. It didn't look like Jackson Pollock had done it. And he brought it to this big show, and the world yawned. Not one piece sold. And to this day, if you go to a museum, you will probably not see a second cycle Jackson Pollock. This led him to become even more of a substance abuser, which led to him dying in a tragic car crash that killed somebody else as well. Because Jackson Pollock wanted two things. He wanted to live on the frontier and be the creative artist on the cutting edge, but he also wanted to be the celebrity who could sell everything he made and was seen as a genius. He forgot how many years it took the first Jackson Pollock to accomplish that. And because the second Jackson Pollock didn't hit, the but became really loud in his head. You can't have two of these things if they are diametrically opposed. We need to find where is the but. I want this, but I want that. It's usually hiding as an and. But once we see it, once we say, oh, that is what is keeping me from giving the people I'm trying to serve what they need. That's why I'm not getting where I need to go. We can remove the pole, see the entanglements, see what we're measuring wrong, forgive them, make a new decision, and the problem goes away.
And you can substitute and, you're saying, instead of but.
The and is the thing that emphasizes it. I want to be a creative person, and I'm eager to be rejected and not have people get the joke for a while and have to live in the back of my van, because that's what creative people do. That's part of it. I get that. I want to be popular on social media, and that means I can't be honest and authentic and consistent because I got to keep chasing X, Y, or Z. And when we look at the people who consistently get big clicks, that's what they're doing. They're not saying this is who I am. They're going to chase the next thing. If you're not happy with that, please don't do it. But the and amplifies the work, but undercuts it.
There should be a button just down below here. And if it says subscribed, you're already subscribed. If it says subscriber, that means you're not yet. And if you're not subscribed, please could you do us a favor and hit that button. It helps the show more than you know. And according to the algorithm, you're someone that watches our show, but you haven't yet hit that button. Thank you so much. There's people listening right now that are, maybe they got 3 kids under the age of 7. I'm thinking about my brother. He's got 3 kids under the age of 7. And they also want to launch a company.
Right.
And they might feel that there's a tension between those two things because they, on one hand, want to be the best dad on earth like my brother wants to be.
Yep.
But at the same time, they really want to launch that AI startup.
Yeah.
Now, these two things are tugging at each other.
Correct.
What do they do?
Well, the first thing they did was really important. They named it.
Okay.
Okay. Second thing, can't do two things at the same time, but you can do many things over time. And what that means is he made a commitment to 3 small humans in this moment. He's going to go to work, but he can't go to work for 100 hours a week. So he needs to pick a project where the amount of time he has is enough time to do the project really well. He cannot start an OpenAI competitor. It is off the table. That is impossible because the thing he's committed to cannot coexist with that.
That's hard to admit.
Right, but it unlocks the door to what we can do. If he can figure out how to build an entity where he's not hiding, where he's actually showing up on the hook to a group of people and say, I know more about AI than you, and I'm going to use this tool to do X, and they pay him for it. Now, at the end of a 40-hour week, he appropriately goes and does the work of a dad, right? That's a business that's creating value for people that will make you more profit than OpenAI made last year, right? So the point I'm making is media keeps showing up and saying what you're supposed to do is be a Kardashian. What you're supposed to do is be Sam Altman. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make promises and keep them for the smallest audience that's enough. You can't maximize 2 things that use the same space.
Do you think it's possible to know if a motivation or a goal or a dream you have or an ambition you have is real or not? And when I say real, I mean, like, did I just inherit this from expectations from Instagram or from my family, or because my brother-in-law is rich and I want to kind of compete? Is there a way to know if the goal I say I want is a real one?
Yeah, I love this. This is brilliant. This gets back to the idea of purpose. What is the change you seek to make with the next cycle of your effort? Not your purpose on earth, but the purpose of the work you're about to do. Are you trying to make Mark Zuckerberg happy? Are you trying to make an anonymous commenter happy? Are you trying to teach a troll a lesson? Because when you say that out loud,